Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. I'm in Washington this week, and next I'm doing my pans and plans from here right now and have some important things I wanted to tell you about. Just before midnight last night, Donald Trump and his administration filed an 82-page brief to the Supreme Court of the United States to do what? To get rid of the Affordable Care Act, of course. Even though he continues to claim we're going to protect people, the 150 million Americans who have pre-existing conditions. Actually, what he is asking the court to do is just to fully wipe out the Affordable Care Act. The Democrats earlier in the week filed documents before the Supreme Court to go the other way. I guess the good news is that the decision is not going to come until after the election. And hopefully, as happened in the past, the court will uphold the legality of the Affordable Care Act. And actually, next week, we're going to be working on making some really important improvements. I'll tell you about that next week. I wanted to tell you about two hearings we had in the Energy and Commerce Committee in subcommittees. One was when I co-chaired on the issue of online misinformation and disinformation, which is certainly out there. But the question is, who takes responsibility? What role does Facebook have, for example, when false and misleading advertising that they get money for is up, that they are sponsoring? They claim that they have a liability shield because at the beginning of the internet, some 20 years ago, legislation was passed, an amendment to the Decency Act that is called Section 230, the Communications Decency Act, Section 230. And what it did was give a liability shield to platforms not having to take responsibility for content. Many of us, and it looks like in a bipartisan way at this hearing, think that we need to amend that these platforms can't just say, it's not us. Oh yeah, we're taking the money, but it's not our responsibility to moderate the content in any way. This is a really important discussion that has to do with our democracy and the rules of the road for the internet platforms. The other hearing was a full committee hearing with the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Now, I have been really drilling down on the issue of nursing homes. You know that nearly 50% of the deaths in the United States have taken place in nursing homes, residents and the workers there as well. And I quizzed Dr. Redfield, who was talking about, I asked him a question about nursing homes, and he was saying, well, we're encouraging, we have guidances that would improve nursing homes. I interrupted him to say, let's talk about the word encouraging for a minute. What about mandating? What about telling them that they have to do testing? That they must provide the personal protective equipment, the PPE, to the people there. That the federal government does have a responsibility for all of the people who are disproportionately dying in nursing homes. He really didn't have an answer. And I'm very fearful that moving forward, that this task force that is empowered, supposedly, of doing something that's going to save lives in this country isn't doing very much. And by the way, the federal government cut off Illinois in terms of helping with testing kits. It's one of 6 states that the president targeted to say no more test kits there. So I don't know. I wish I could tell you when this thing is going to end. Illinois, we're doing our best to try and flatten the curve here, and the numbers are going down. That's good news. In some states, you've seen there's been a spike. I also wanted to tell you about the passage, I mentioned it last week, of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. His brother asked that we name the bill for him. His daughter said, will Daddy be remembered? And so his brother said, let's remember him by naming the legislation for him. It bans chokeholds. The bill includes a ban on no-knock warrants. Breonna Taylor, you may remember, where they had the wrong house. The police burst in. Her companion shot at the police, not knowing who they were, thinking it was a invasion of their home, which actually it was. And the police shot back and killed her in her own home. No one has been arrested yet. Breonna Taylor, let's remember the name, along with George Floyd and so many others. It prohibits racial, religious, and discriminatory profiling. It requires, I could go on and on, almost a whole page of really important things that it does that are transformational. It's not just a matter of let's do a tweak here, a tweak there, train the police a little more, ask them to be more tolerant, do some race sensitivity training. No. We have to stop this once and for all. And of course, the reason, I want to make this point, the reason this bill is on the agenda at all is not because a few people came to the Congress and said, oh, we're fed up. It's not because of yet another death, another murder by the police. I think there's really two reasons. One, we saw it. We all witnessed the horror of 8 minutes and 46 seconds of a man's life being taken on video. So now cameras are required in the vehicles on the person of the police. But the other main reason is because the public has demanded it. And it's not just the African American community or people of color. It's white, black, brown, old, young, people marching, not just one day, day after day, saying we've had it. So we had a press conference on the steps of the Capitol yesterday. Karen Bass, the chair of our the Congressional Black Caucus, was there. Fabulous. And yesterday we passed the bill. So exciting that we can have some real change, transformational change. The President Barack Obama called it a new awakening. I think it's a perfect word to represent that people have found their voice. And in some ways, as tragic as it is, it's exhilarating to see what a difference people organizing and demanding and finding their voice can make. As a longtime organizer, I see the power of the people, and it's really being expressed right now. So that bill passed yesterday. Right now, today, we're going to pass a bill in the House of Representatives for DC Statehood. Imagine, the first time in the history of the United States. Eleanor Holmes Norton, the delegate from the district, where the District of Columbia is bigger than many states in this country right now, pays more taxes than most states per capita, and so it is time. And at least we'll move it out of the House. It'll be a step in the right direction, and hopefully after the elections next year, it's going to it's going to happen. And then once again, let me wish you happy Pride Month. This week would have been the Pride Parade. I miss it so much, but we're still in our hearts celebrating. As I told you last week, for me, it's very personal. It's an issue of the heart. My grandson is trans and transgender, and I'm so proud of him. He just graduated from McAllister. Not much of a graduation, unfortunately, but we celebrated anyway. And so, it's kind of good and bad reports, but we are definitely making progress. We must vote. That's the big takeaway from all of this. We have to act and we have to vote, and we can make the changes that we've dreamed of. Thank you. See you next week. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.